Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Non Sequitur Nerds. Tonight, strap on your mouse ears because we're going to be talking upcoming features from the House of Mouse. As always, I'm Tim, joined by Ian. How you doing, buddy?
Hey, things are going pretty well. It's been a week, but I think that's kind of the same for
For
same for
everybody,
same
yeah.
story, different day. Um,
Yeah, I feel that. I
the,
feel that on the inside.
I feel that on the outside.
Yeah, that's
Um,
true.
yeah, I think anymore. That's just kind of the way it is when you're middle-aged adults.
Yep, yep. It doesn't. It's
Yeah.
all downhill from here.
Yeah. Well, on that terrible disappointment, let's talk about Disney Plus or
Yeah,
Disney properties. So the House of Mouse is famous for having a pseudo monopoly on most of the entertainment industry.
right.
Um, but with Disney Plus, one of their more successful ventures, their own streaming service, they have
Very
certainly
much so.
put forth an effort to put out a lot of new content, new movies. Turning Red just came out not that long ago.
Which, like,
Um,
despite like all people, like a lot of people's, arguments about, oh, this film's not appropriate for kids. It was a really cute, coming of age movie. I mean, literally coming of age. And people are
right.
like,
I
oh, it's not,
mean,
it's not appropriate for kids. Go back to classic Disney, where we had things like, feature film of girl with Stockholm syndrome, film where girl runs away from family, falls in love with the first man she sees, and lies about it the whole time. Film where girl endangers the entire country of China to prove a point. It's like,
well, that one was kind of a historical.
well,
It was
yeah,
semi
that was
based on historical
yeah.
events.
But then we
Or
get a we get a movie about
or
girls' first periods. And it's like, oh, you can't talk about that. Like,
what about the very first Disney movie? Girl meets gets involved with seven strange men and murders local monarch.
I mean,
Um,
also accepts food from strangers. You know, um,
yes, also that.
yeah. But no, like, Turning Red is cute. I enjoyed it. I enjoyed it.
Man accosts sleeping girl.
Priest inappropriately touches local village girl. I mean,
Yeah.
welcome to
Yeah.
Disney, folks. Please don't sue us. Please don't.
Yeah, no, Turning Red was my kids have watched it. They really enjoyed
Yeah,
it.
same.
I've heard good things about it. Not the best showing, but certainly better than what was it?
Oh,
What was that
the
Pixar movie about the
good
weirdly shaped?
dinosaur.
Yeah, that one.
Yeah,
The
like I
dinosaur that
don't
was
even
shaped like a
remember
foot.
anything about that. But like Turning Red, like I really like the art style in it. It was Pixar anime,
Yeah.
which was really interesting, but I thoroughly
Which
enjoyed
is
it.
funny because it was also the director has come out and said it was very heavily influenced by shows like Ranma One and a Half,
Yep.
Fruits Basket,
Oh
Sailor
yeah,
Moon.
I could see that.
So yeah. Anyway,
But
but
enough about the past. We're looking forward here.
to the
Welcome to the
future.
world of tomorrow.
Do you
Or
have to do that with everyone we unfreeze?
yes.
Yeah, so Disney's got a pretty huge lineup coming for
Yeah, they really.
this year,
I
and
didn't realize just how many upcoming projects they have until like we started like doing our research before we recorded. We actually did research for once, folks. They have a lot more in their docket that they've announced than what I thought they did. It's
right.
it's kind of impressive, really.
Well, having just come out this past week on Disney Plus, we have the Netflix Marvel shows that have now been moved over to their new home. So
Which I'm
Daredevil,
very happy that they preserved all those because I was worried when like all right the next Netflix deal is done. I was just like counting down the days so that I would not be able to watch those anymore. And
right?
Disney's like, no, we're gonna put them on our thing. It's fine.
Yeah. So I mean, we have Daredevil, Jessica Jones, Luke Cage, Iron Fist, The Defenders, Punisher,
Yep.
and obviously, spoiler alert for Marvel, Charlie Cox has been confirmed as Daredevil, Matt Murdock in the MCU. So there is a hope that these characters, well, at least let's hope, Daredevil, Jessica Jones, Punisher, and Luke Cage. Screw you, Iron Fist, you
Well, I say
suck.
like Iron Fist, like I have yet to talk to anybody that was like, oh, I really like the Iron Fist show, which is a shame because like I heard so much negative things about it that I never even got around to watching Iron Fist.
The best that I have heard anybody walk away from that show was they went meh.
Yeah, yeah. I mean that's the positive review.
Right.
But like
But
Daredevil, and like I was not a big Daredevil fan. I mean, even a small Daredevil fan before watching that show. But I'm like, man, this is really well done. Sorry,
I
Affleck,
mean,
Charlie Cox did it better.
let's all admit, like everybody watched Ben Affleck's Daredevil for Jennifer Gardner's Elektra.
Yeah, I mean, pretty much.
Anyway, so yeah, moving beyond that, though, I mean, Marvel obviously has a bunch of properties that are going to
Yeah.
be coming out. Probably the next big one that's going to be hitting is Moon Knight.
Which I am excited about that because it seems different than a lot of the other stuff they've put out, but in a good way.
Right.
I mean,
And for
Moon
those of
Knight's
you that don't
yeah.
know the character of Moon Knight, I mean, he's relatively obscure as far as like the mainstream Marvel continuity goes. Basically, he's Marvel's version of Batman if he was insane. More insane.
I was gonna say, so Marvel's Batman. You,
Right.
you can't tell me a guy that runs around at night, dresses up as a bat, and beats up people is mentally sound.
Yes, correct. But so we've got Moon Knight coming out here very shortly,
Yep. Tail end of
which
March, 6 episodes. So I mean, it is a shorter series, and it seems like the Marvel Disney Plus shows are sticking to that sub 10 episode count now, which I imagine a lot of that probably had to do like the production of these things started a while ago. I imagine it probably had to do a lot with these things were filmed like during the height of the pandemic, so they got what they could. I just hope for these shorter series. I know like Falcon and Winter Soldier.
Mhm.
You could tell, like, and you and I talked about this in a prior episode. You could tell that that one had there was a lot of stuff, especially towards the tail end of those episodes, that just wrapped up way too quick.
Yeah.
So I hope that that isn't the case with Moon Knight. I mean, even Hawkeye when that came out, that kind of wrapped up super quick at the end as well. I'm hoping that that's not a trend of these pandemic era filmed Marvel properties. Um, I know like excuse me, like I was going through the list of upcoming Marvel Disney Plus things, and we'll get to some of these shows later. But it seems like 6 episodes, at least for the live action things, seem to kind of be the running thing. So I'm wondering if it's less it was pandemic era produced, or if it's more they were able to get 6 episodes and have it be a finalized thing. It's going to be interesting to see how they handle those things. So
I mean, it's also a possibility that they're doing some of these more obscure properties like Moon Knight as shorter because they just don't know how
kind
it's
of
going
test the
to,
waters with it. See,
yeah,
are
kind of test
people
the
going to
waters.
be into this? That's true.
Right.
That may be the case as well. We
Right.
don't know yet.
Right. And I feel like Moon Knight is probably going to be a large enough departure
Anything else?
from anything else that they've done that
Yeah.
we may, maybe it'll be inventive enough and people are going to be interested enough. But anyway, so yeah, Moon Knight starring Oscar Isaac coming out here very soon.
Yep.
Also having Ethan Hawke in it as well. So that'll be interesting. It's going to be kind of a new, very very dark tone
It,
for what we've typically seen.
to me, like watching the initial trailers of it, it looks closer to the Netflix produced Marvel things than it has any other Disney Plus feature.
Hmm.
And it's interesting. Like we had mentioned earlier in the show that the Netflix shows are on Disney Plus now. When you sign into Disney Plus, since those shows have came out, you have to update your content settings to allow for mature content. If you have multiple profiles, you have to set it per profile. So I'm wondering if Moon Knight is going to lean more onto that more mature side. I don't think it's going to go the level that the Netflix shows did, especially Daredevil. That was a like
The Punisher.
oh yeah, Punisher. Wow. I don't think it's going to go that mature, but I think it's going to lean into that a little bit personally. Just from what I'm taking from the trailer anyway.
Right. So, not to dwell too much on that because there is kind of a lot of content to cover.
Yeah, there
We're
is.
jumping ahead a little bit. April's going to be kind of a slower month for Disney Plus, especially with some of the more hotter properties. They are going to see a couple of things added. Just nothing that most folks are really going to
Well, and
um,
I
be
think
looking
isn't
for.
is it April or May when Doctor Strange 2 comes out?
Ah, that's a good question. I'm not 100% certain on
It's
that
right here.
actually. I thought that might have been was going to be summer. Maybe I'm wrong.
May 6th is what Google is telling me.
Okay. Okay. So yeah.
Excuse me.
So I think April generally runs to be kind of a slower month in Hollywood anyway.
Yeah, I mean, because it's not really. like, I mean, summer blockbusters are a thing that are never going to go away. Got your holiday releases, and then you have your
Hmm.
post-holiday releases, which are kind of the three big points. Because summer, all the kids are out of school, they know they can get their money's worth.
Right.
Holidays, people are looking for things to do to with their family being in town, things like that. And then post-holiday, it's like okay, it's spring, people are getting outside again, releasing not necessarily your summer blockbuster level of films, like as far as what they're expecting to earn on them, but still films that they know people are going to go see, the safety films as it were.
Right. If you folks hear any noise in the background, I apologize. It is Zoomy o'clock where I'm at
I was
right
gonna say
now.
I
So
just saw your cat on my view.
yeah, the big 18-pound black cat is currently terrorizing the other cat and just zooming around here. Oh, there he goes. And he's all poofed out as well.
That's
So
you guys are missing a lot. Unfortunately, it's not you can't see it on the stream you're viewing if you're watching the video. But so if you see me randomly looking like to the side of Ian and laughing, that's why. Cats
yes,
amuse me. All right.
yes.
I mean, I
So
think
anyway,
that's kind of the theme of the internet.
exactly. Jumping forward to May, we have one of the big ones that I think all of us are looking forward to, which is the triumphant return of Ewan McGregor as Obi-Wan in the limited series.
Yes, yes,
Um,
yes, yes.
Also seeing the return of Hayden Christensen as Anakin Skywalker slash Darth Vader. So,
Now, have you
um,
seen the rumor about the Obi-Wan show? That apparently, like anybody that knows Obi-Wan's history, especially in Rebels, knows about the final fight between him and Darth Maul.
right.
Apparently, the Darth Maul scenes were cut from the Obi-Wan show.
Mm,
That's what rumor mill from the inside is saying is that the Darth Maul scenes will not be included.
mm,
So that leads two things: either Obi-Wan will end like when he first meets Luke in A New Hope, and they'll just kind of sidestep that, or that maybe I hope potentially something for a season two. Because I would love to see a live action version of that fight. I mean, the scene in Rebels was an amazing. I mean, it wasn't like a super long drawn out fight. It was very quick. It was very precise, and you got exactly what you wanted out of it.
yep.
I would love to see that shot for shot remade in live action.
I mean, frankly, I wouldn't mind seeing a Darth Maul show, like
Well,
having
yeah,
Ray
because
Park come back as Maul.
even if they do
Um,
it as a CG show and just have him voice it, I'd be happy.
yeah, but I mean, a Maul show would be fantastic, and
One hundred
we're
percent.
kind of yeah, we're kind of non sequiturting here,
Yeah,
but
that's what we
which
do.
is it's what we do.
Yeah,
But an Obi-Wan show would be actually pretty awesome, or will be
yeah, oh, yeah.
awesome. I'm looking forward to it. Again, I'm looking forward to Ewan McGregor coming back to play Obi-Wan.
I just hope we get sassy Obi Wan because I mean, he did have a big character change at the end of the prequel trilogy with everything that happened with the portrayal of Anakin and everything like that. So I mean, obviously, I think thematically the character is going to be quite a bit different than what we saw in the prequels. But I still hope we still get that hint of sassy Obi Wan. That was one of my favorite things about his portrayal of Obi.
Yeah, yeah, I would agree. So moving a little bit beyond that, as far as movies go, we have Miss Marvel coming out, expected June-ish
Yeah,
time
it's
frame.
mid this year is what they're saying. And Ms. Marvel, they recently put out the first official trailer for it, and I've kind of been keeping up on it because it's a character that I'm interested in. I would like to see what they do with her in a live action setting. It is going to be a 6 episode series, so again we're kind of continuing that. And Obi Wan is a six episode issue or series as well, if I remember right. But we're continuing
Yes.
that 6 episode thing. But I know a lot of people were, and you and I talked about this a little bit off the air. A lot of people were kind of upset that they changed Kamala Khan's powers. Because in the comics, she can, embiggen herself, I believe is what they call it. But she has powers similar to Mr. Fantastic, but she can also fully shapeshift. Um, which I mean, some versions of Mr. Fantastic can do that as well, but they changed it to where she has more. What would you even
Cosmic.
call? Yeah, like a cosmic slash telekinetic, like Psylocke esque powers, kind of. I mean, they do show her, using her powers to create a giant fist, which is, kind of her signature attack in the comics. But a lot of people are kind
She
of interested
also
in why they changed it. So it's going to be neat to see how they justify that in the show. I mean, because that's
my
excuse me.
my assumption is going to be that they wanted to, given the character's name and association to Captain Marvel, they
Right.
probably wanted to change her power base to be more in
More
line
like
with
yeah.
Captain Marvel's powers, which are obviously were derived from an Infinity Stone.
Right.
So, but the Infinity Stones don't exist anymore in this
Yeah.
Marvel universe. So it'd be interesting to kind of see what happens. It looks to be like she gets some kind of bracelet or
Yeah, that's what there
bracers.
is it's an artifact that apparently has been in their family forever, and her powers are derived from that. So a lot of people are thinking that it may actually have, like, visually, it definitely does look more in line with what we're seeing from Captain Marvel.
Yeah.
But a lot of people, with just the imagery of the bracelet and everything, how that is, are likening it more to a MCU 10 rings kind of situation,
Hmm.
where it's, and if you haven't seen Shang-Chi yet, please go watch it. We did a full review on it. But so the statute of limitations on spoilers is out at this point. You come to find out that the 10 rings, as they're studying it in the post-credit scenes, are something not of this world. They're not sure what it is. So I'm wondering if Ms. Marvel's bracelet thing is something from that, kind of tying in that. I mean, it's interesting. The MCU is in an interesting point right now where obviously the multiverse is a huge thing right now, but it also seems like they're building up threats from even, beyond. Obviously Thanos was from not, obviously wasn't from Earth,
Well,
but
Thanos was from space.
yeah,
Now they're building up threats from beyond time.
yeah. So I'm wondering if the whole setup with the 10 rings is also going to play a huge role in how in this next thematic arc of the MCU. So it's
Right.
I'm still obviously going to watch Ms. Marvel, but I'd be curious to see how they explain her powers being different. I mean, obviously they're not going to say, well, in the comic my powers are like this, but thematically and through the actual show, I'm interested to see how they in canon explain the MCU Ms. Marvel being quite a bit different from her comics counterpart. I mean, this I think is probably one of the biggest changes to an MCU character because everybody else has, for the most part, stayed pretty true. This one's a full power set change, which I don't
Right.
think there's been any other MCU character who's had that drastic of a change.
Right.
I mean, I guess you could argue that Shang-Chi's rings are in theory different than how they were. I mean, well, they are different because in the comics they were literally 10 finger rings that each one had a different power. So I mean, I guess Shang-Chi kind of got that same thing where
Well,
his powers were
yes,
different in the
but
comics, but it made sense with the way they do it. So I guess that's what I'm
yeah,
getting
but
at is I hope it makes
the
sense.
yeah, but also if we remember the comics,
The
the
Mandarin
Mandarin
was
was also horribly
yeah,
horribly racist and
yeah.
caricatured. So
It was the
we're kind of
60s in Marvel, all right? Like
right.
everything was a horrible racist caricature. I mean,
Right.
the
So
golden age was
anyway,
not that golden. More like a
right.
golden shower age.
Oof, R. Kelly?
I'm just saying that that girl didn't want R. Kelly to pee on her. She'd have moved out the way.
Yep.
Oh, thank you, Boondocks.
Yes. So
Anyway,
moving on beyond that, there's a couple other shows. Baymax from Big Hero 6 is getting his own
oh
show, which,
yeah,
interestingly enough, most people don't know this. Big Hero 6 is a Marvel
yes,
comic book and a Marvel property.
quite a bit different than
Vastly,
the Disney film, though. Quite a
yes,
bit different.
vastly different. Basically,
Yes,
the only similarities between the two were names.
yeah,
Everything else is completely different, but
yeah. I mean,
uh,
vastly different. Well, because in the
yeah.
comics, I think like Baymax had like it was Hero's father's memories or brainwave or something in it, and he was a robot butler who turned into a dragon.
No, he didn't turn into a dragon. The character of Fred, I think, actually does turn into a dragon. Like he actually does turn into a dragon, whereas in
Well,
the movie he was just like a in like that monster suit. But Baymax, yes, is like a 8 foot tall. Looks kind of
no,
like
it was Baymax actually.
oh, it was okay.
Yeah.
I
So
couldn't
so
remember.
they took his dragon transformation and made it Fred in the show is what it was.
Mhm.
But yeah, it was considerably different than the Disney film that we got, which was really good. Um, yeah, there I found a better screenshot showing. Yeah, he turns from a robot into like a gargoyle dragon thing in the comics.
Interesting.
It's weird, but
Yeah.
anyway, yeah, it's different.
Yeah. Also in summer, we're expected to see Andor
Hmm?
come out, which was based on Diego Luna's character, Andor, Cassian, I believe it was
Yep,
Cassian Andor,
Cassian Andor.
from the Rogue One, which is probably one of the more unsung yet amazing
Yeah, like
Star Wars movies.
I got
Um,
into an argument with my nephew about that because he said, and I quote, Rogue One was a completely unnecessary film, and like it was one of the last times my gaming group with him, my sister and brother-in-law all got together, and the entire table pivoted, stared right at him, and just laid into him for a good solid 10 minutes about why he was wrong.
I appreciate people I appreciate people being allowed to have their opinions and whatnot, but
Yeah, we didn't allow it.
that's a pretty that's a pretty bold statement there, kiddo.
I mean,
Um,
he I think he was in fear for his life for a few minutes there.
I would have been too, especially knowing your gaming crowd. Anyway, but we'll explore. It'll be Andor, obviously exploring his time leading up to
Yep.
Rogue One. Hopefully, we'll see the triumphant return of Alan Tudyk as oh crap, C9, the robot. I can't remember what his name was now.
It's escaping me now, but that would be nice because like he did a phenomenal job in that.
Yeah, no. I mean, Alan Tudyk does a phenomenal job in everything.
He's just a leaf on the wind,
Um,
Ian.
oh,
But
um,
moving forward from that, though, also mid 2022, going back to the Marvel side of things, we also have the She-Hulk show coming out, which is one that that's probably the one I'm most interested in, for multiple reasons. One, I think like She-Hulk is a fantastic character, um,
right.
but it's going to be interesting because like She-Hulk, like a lot of people know Deadpool breaking the fourth wall. She-Hulk does it as well. So I'm going to be curious to see if they put that side of her in there. But even with that aside, the Hulk and all the Hulk characters have always been some of my favorites. I'm excited to see the return of Mark Ruffalo as Hulk again, and they are going to explain how, again, statute of spoiler limitations is up. It's going to be interesting to see why at the end of Shang-Chi he's Bruce Banner again and not Smart Hulk, because Endgame made it out to sound like that was a permanent thing. You don't see Mark Ruffalo in that entire film. You see him as Smart Hulk.
Right.
So it's going to be interesting to see how they explain that, and to get an actual MCU origin to a new Hulk character. And it sounds like from some interviews that they've done, it sounds like it's going to be a passing of the torch kind of film. And a lot of the more recent MCU properties have been very much that. Moving on from the characters that we've seen for the last forever years, moving into new characters. I mean, with
Well,
Hawkeye, we have Kate Bishop coming in. With Falcon and the Winter Soldier, we have a new Captain America.
I
Spider-Man
mean,
is now coming into his own.
Black Widow. We
We have a new
saw.
Black Widow completely.
Right. So I mean it makes sense though in the
Yeah,
in the context of live action anything, because these actors are getting older. Like they can't play these characters forever. It is
right.
it is a very taxing thing to play as an action star.
Yep,
Robert Downey Jr. wasn't getting any younger. Chris
right.
Evans wasn't getting any younger. They wanted to also go off and do other things. They didn't want to necessarily, while the MCU pays very well for their
Yes,
their
yes, it
mainline
does.
stars, they don't want, they are actors. They want
Yep.
to explore their craft.
And,
They
and then
want
there's Chris
to,
Hemsworth, who is literally Thor.
right,
It will continue to
right,
be Thor until he dies, probably.
right. But also with She-Hulk, we do see Tim Roth returning as Emil Blonsky and Abomination. We did see him in
Yes,
in um,
Shang-Chi.
Shang-Chi,
Yep.
but we will see more of him in the She-Hulk show, which I'm very interested in seeing, because
Yes.
they obviously play a little bit different on his characterization,
Yeah, because like in
in
Shang-Chi,
Shang-Chi.
it seemed like he was more like buddy buddy with Wong, versus in the comics, like Abomination's very much a ruthless, reckless, killing machine. So it's going to be interesting to see how they play into that and how much of that character's history in the original Hulk films. Well, I guess he was only in the second one, wasn't he?
Well, it depends
He
on
was,
where you start with
yeah,
the Hulk
yeah.
movies.
Because the one by Ang Lee, I think everybody just kind of forgets that one.
Yeah, and
So
he
yeah,
wasn't. Yeah, Blonsky was not
yeah, it was
in
just in
that
the second
unless it
one.
was
Yeah,
just unless it was just a cameo as Blonsky, but I
yeah,
don't believe it was, and it wouldn't have been Tim Roth.
yeah.
So
So it's going to be interesting to see if they reference that a whole lot. Because I mean, obviously we had, and I got sad here for a moment. We had General Ross, who, yeah,
Thunderbolt Ross,
yeah,
the incomparable William Hurt, who passed away just this past
yeah,
week. Rest in peace, sir.
yeah.
So unfortunately, we will not see Red Hulk, or at least the form of Red Hulk that
Most
comes from
familiar.
Thunderbolt Ross. Yeah,
I mean, unless if they do a recast, I mean, but it seems like Marvel seems to be very much in the mindset of if an actor passes away, they don't announce any plans to recast. I mean, that was unfortunately true with Chadwick Boseman when he passed.
hmm
And it's they haven't made any kind of announcement on recasting General Ross yet. But I think with, and this is no disrespect at all, but I think with that being a side character, they would be able to get away with it a little easier than if, like if Robert Downey Jr. would have passed away during Iron Man. I think that would have just been the end of Iron Man. But with General Ross being kind of a side character at this point, I think they could probably get away with recasting him. But it is going to be, like my original point was, it's going to be interesting to see how much they reference beyond names that original Hulk film, which technically is part of the MCU, but it's kind of the like redheaded, sorry, Ian, stepchild. Um, it's there, but it's not really there, kind of thing.
yeah,
But no, no,
yeah.
She Hulk, I'm excited about. I'm excited to watch that one.
Yep. So beyond that, there's other properties that don't necessarily have a release date on them yet. So we can kind of run through some of these um, relatively
Yeah,
quickly, but we are excited about many of
yeah.
these. So
Just a lot of these
one
are a
of
lot
them,
farther than we wish they were.
right? One of them being Agatha, House of Harkness, which Agatha was one of the unsung amazing characters
Yes,
from
WandaVision.
WandaVision. Um, so I'm very interested in Catherine Hahn coming back as
Yes,
Agatha. It was Agatha all
all along.
along. I think they
That,
won an Emmy for that song,
I
didn't
think
they?
it did.
Yeah. So Agatha is I'm very much looking forward to that.
Yes.
Ahsoka.
Hmm?
Um, really looking forward to that. And a
Yes,
lot of
because
people complain about Ahsoka being like kind of shoving her way into the Star Wars continuity, or Filoni having a soft spot, which I can
I can see.
understand.
Yeah.
I can see that. I can understand. But Ahsoka was also Filoni's original character,
Yes.
and she was a fantastic and a beloved character. Like, I don't
Yeah.
know anybody that didn't like Ahsoka.
If it ain't broke, don't fix it.
Right. And Rosario Dawson does a fantastic job playing
Yeah.
Ahsoka. So
Absolutely. I
I'm
was very
interested,
happy with what she did.
right, and I'm interested to see where they go with it. And canonically, they have said even after Rise of Skywalker, Ahsoka is alive in the continuity. So they are able to do other things with her.
Yep.
So I'm looking forward to more information coming out about that. Um, we
It,
also have Armor Wars
yep.
coming out.
I'll say, and another one coming out sometime next year at this point. One that I think is really gonna hit us right in the childhood. X-Men '97. They are and
Yes.
it's a continuation of the X-Men cartoon back from when we were kids.
Yes.
That I'm really looking forward to that one just for the nostalgia factor of it.
I am too. Absolutely. It's going to be
Oh yeah.
fantastic.
Well, and they're bringing back a lot of the original cast and crew for it as well, which is going to be kind of really neat to see those people all like reprising their roles. Like a lot of the original directors are going to be consulting or even doing some directing work as well, from what I've
Right.
heard. So I'm excited about that one.
All right, Tim, here's a question for you.
Uh
Who was your X-Men waifu? What? Jean Grey,
oh.
Rogue,
Man,
Mystique, maybe some of the others.
I think, and I want to preface this by saying I was a lot younger at the time. I was a kid when this came out. I related a lot to Jubilee, not necessarily in a waifu sense, but I related a lot to her just because she was the young kid in the group.
Okay.
And I was a young kid watching it. But as far as like waifu, That Rogue with that southern voice, just saying, something about that just drove home for me.
I love a woman that could kick my ass.
Exactly. Spike said it
Yeah,
best.
no, that version of Rogue was I loved that version of Rogue. And in reality, I've really loved like all versions of Rogue.
Yeah.
They've always played. She's always played such a fun and an amazing character.
Well, and even
Um,
the X-Men Evolution version of her, where she was more like goth Rogue, I'm like, okay, I can get behind this.
yep. Then there was the X-Men, Wolverine in the X-Men version of
Yeah.
Rogue, which was
Yep.
still the Southern Belle, but kind of like the spy version of Rogue,
Yep.
which I loved that
Yeah.
characterization as well.
Like all portrayals of her, like even the live action Rogues, like I
Right,
enjoyed.
Anna Paquin did a great job as that version of
Yep.
Rogue. I wish we would have gotten a little bit more out of her, but
Yeah.
I think she did great.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Anyway,
Yeah.
so some other properties coming up. Ironheart,
Yeah.
the potential um,
Successor.
oh, successor,
Yeah.
yes,
I guess you could say.
Tony Stark. One
Who's
of the more
apparently
fun.
making her premiere in Black Panther 2 when and if that ever comes out. We were actually talking about that
Right.
off the air before this. Um, Apparently she's making her MCU debut in that in some capacity. But she is getting her own show. TBA when it's coming out. If I had to guess, it'll probably be a 6-episode series. I don't know why. That just seems like a good number to pick. Um, but that one will be interesting, especially like with Iron Man. Well, like She-Hulk, it's going to be interesting because obviously that show is going to lean heavily into the CG side of Marvel. I imagine Ironheart probably is as well
Mhm.
because the Marvel, like, they have an amazing CG department. 99% of the time, when you see Tony in any of his suits, other than I think Iron Man 1 was mostly practical.
Yes.
Apart from that, it was all CG, and
They
I wouldn't have been able to find it. I mean, it looked good.
they
The
said
nanotech
that.
suit you could tell was CG, but anything
I mean, that
before
was
that,
kind of the point, right?
yeah,
Like but I mean, and a little bit of trivia for you. They did practical effects for the most part in Iron Man 1, but Robert Downey Jr. has said that it was just so bulky and
yeah,
unwieldy and really hard to like move in.
yeah,
So in subsequent stuff, they did a little bit of practical. They had some effects that were on
yep.
top of him until
Mainly
he
for
got
like
the
close-up shots and things like
right,
that. Yep,
until he got the nano suit, in which case then it
it was
was, it was
full CG.
right.
Yep.
So then, one of the more fun properties coming out, Marvel Zombies, which has
Yeah.
always been a fun property that I really liked.
Yep.
It's just one of those goofy kind of shows.
Right. When I think we're far enough out of the zombie craze where everything has a zombies whatever in it, whether it's video games, comics, movies, whatever. I think this one's going to be far enough removed from that that it's not going to fall into that trope of another zombie property. But
Right.
beyond that, I know one that there's a lot of fans looking forward to. I Am Groot. Groot is getting his own show. Um, that's again way down the pipeline. We're getting a Loki season 2, which anybody that watched Loki season 1 knew that because it told you. We're getting a second season of What If, which, like, say what you will about What If, I thoroughly enjoyed that because it was different takes on characters that we know and love. I thought What If was really fun. And now, especially some of the stuff that they've teased in Doctor Strange 2, What If the first season went from being a, well, watch it if you want, to a, you should probably watch this before Doctor Strange 2 comes out.
Right. I will say that one thing that I do want to mention though, real quick before we move on, jumping back to Marvel Zombies, one of the things that I would love to see, but it probably won't happen,
Mm-hmm.
is going to be the appearance of Ash Williams from The Evil Dead, because
Probably won't get that.
they did canonically do a crossover.
Yep.
Ash did appear in Marvel Zombies.
Yep.
I think it was actually Ash versus the Marvel Zombies, I believe was what it was called.
I don't
Um,
remember what it was called.
but anyway, it probably won't happen. The Evil Dead franchise is owned by New Line Cinema, which is owned
Yep.
by Warner Brothers. So there might have to be some finagling
Oh,
if they really wanted to do that. But
it was Marvel Zombies versus the Army of Darkness.
that's what it was. That's right. Yep. So, but anyway, so uh, starting to run up a little bit on our time here, so we'll kind of try to wrap things up a little bit. There's a few other properties coming out. Secret Invasion,
Yep.
which is a more fun thing that they have kind of teased a little bit in
A
the
little bit, yeah.
MCU with
Yep.
the
With the
scrolls and
scrolls and all
everything
that. Yep.
else. And then we also have Spider-Man Freshman Year, which is going to be a prequel
Yes.
to Spider-Man, which I don't know how to feel about
Well, because
that.
it's like when he appeared in Captain America: Civil War, it was established that he hadn't been doing the Spider-Man thing for a whole long. So like this show, again, it's probably going to be a 6-episode series. I mean, it's animated, so I mean maybe they might get more out of it, but there's not going to be a whole lot of time that you can really spend with that character in his early, in his early career before you catch up to where you actually see him in the MCU proper. So I mean,
Right.
that's one that I'm apprehensive about because it is MCU canonical. But again, they don't really have. There's a very small amount of time that you can actually do anything with him. So I mean, we're getting an actual Spider-Man origin story again. Um, but yeah, that one is way down the pipeline from what I'm hearing. But
Right.
I'm interested to know more about it. But that's one that I'm kind of apprehensive about.
Yeah, I don't know how sold I am on that one at
Yeah,
this
yeah.
point. But
We'll watch
with
it.
the absolute raging success of Spider-Man No Way Home,
Yeah,
I'm willing to give them
I'll
an
give him a watch.
opportunity.
I'll give him a watch.
Yeah. Yeah. So, anyway, I'm sure there's other properties that are coming out that we haven't mentioned yet. There's other things that have been unannounced. The Star Wars properties. We did mention a few of them, but
Yep.
there were slated a whole bunch of other shows. We just haven't heard really anything about them.
Yeah.
Obviously, Mandalorian season 3
Yep.
filming, I believe, right
Featuring
now.
Christopher Lloyd, they announced.
Yes. Well, we don't know if featuring, but
Yeah.
he's at least been
Cast.
cast. So
Yep.
there is speculation that he's going to show up kind of like Stephen Root or uh crap.
Don
Named
Leguizamo?
John Leguizamo. Yes,
Like
could
in
be
a
in
brief
just
cameo kind of thing?
yeah,
Okay.
brief cameo type thing. So, but I am interested to see what Doc Brown is going to do
Yeah.
in a galaxy far, far away. So,
Well, I mean, because
um,
he's 83 years old, so I mean, I don't imagine he's going to be doing a whole lot in that show because he is 83 years old. But it'll be nice to have even if it's just a short cameo, it'd be nice to see him in Star Wars proper.
yeah, exactly. So anyway, I think with that we'll go ahead and wrap up for today.
Sounds good. Sounds good.
Yeah. So interesting to see what we're gonna have coming out here soon on
There's a lot.
Disney Plus. It's obviously we're covering Disney Plus because they own some of our favorite properties.
Yeah.
So we could, hint at some of the other streaming services to come. Obviously, in streaming services news, HBO Max and Discovery Plus are going to be merging into a single app as AT&T divests itself of its media properties. So there could be some things coming up there.
Yeah.
There are some Amazon Prime shows that are coming up that we could cover
Yep.
in a future episode as well. So
You
keep
know
an
which one I'm
eye.
going to tell you need to watch.
The Marvelous Miss Maisel.
Yeah, sure, we'll go with that. We'll do a 3-hour special episode on that.
Okay, it might take me a little bit to catch up, but I'll try.
Okay,
Anyway,
okay.
so with that, I think we'll go ahead and wrap up. So thank you again for joining us. You can find us hosted on Anchor.fm, which feeds out to its parent company, Spotify, as well as Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, and several other podcasting sites. You can find the videos of our casts on youtube.com/nonsequiturnerds, social media, Twitter @nonsequiturnerd, facebook.com/nonsequiturnerds, and also occasionally catch us live streaming on twitch.tv/nonsequiturnerds. If we will live stream, we will usually post a social media announcement. So follow us on social media and you can get our latest updates.
There you go.
I think it takes care of most of my shtick. So
I think you
thank
got
you
it
for
all.
joining us. The cat is on the bed currently and has finished his
Petey.
zoomies for now. I can just see his fat ass sitting back over there. So
Yep.
anyway, thank you again for joining us. We look forward to seeing you next time on Non Sequitur Nerds. So, yeah. think that'll do it.
I think so.
As always, for the nerds, I am Ian, and that is obviously my best friend and
Oh,
partner in crime.
Tim, you warm my heart, Ian. All right.
Good night, everybody.
Not everybody.